and Bender is just her identifier, or Audrey's identifier for her model.
Is Beaker.
Mine's
Uh,
Bender.
Bender.
Yeah.
Audrey Lynn's is
Is
Beaker.
Beaker.
Yeah.
Paul's is Smee.
Yeah.
So you can call yours whatever you want, Gary.
Okay. I got to make one comment last night. What came up for me when you mentioned about the dishwasher and the guy running the robot. I was in the restaurant one morning and I go there 2, 3 times a week. And I was teasing the waitress more, not openly like we are a man or a woman to then you're operating in Canada, but I was coming from that volition. Anyway, the guy in the next booth, he started chatting amongst the two of us too. And then we started to have a conversation, and he's foreman GF, superintendent of building roads for the heavy haulers in the mines up at Fort McMurray. And they're going to robots and whatnot.
Yep.
And we had quite a conversation. Then he eventually said, like, they're claiming robots are cheaper and save money because people don't have to stop for washroom, coffee breaks, da da da. But there's other complications with them operating. And he says, and then they don't have to, they have the robots, they don't have to deal with personalities.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's interesting.
So they
There's,
control and manipulate things more.
oh, yeah. Oh,
Or
yeah.
that's the volition I'm coming from. I'm not saying robots aren't efficient and whatnot, but they're used in some places so they don't have to deal with the personalities of.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's like some employers, I was an employer too for a while, and it felt like I just had a adult daycare. You know, it's pretty scary how much you have to, coax people along sometimes. Have to, yeah, dealing with personalities. That's a liability in business. It's interesting you bring this up. A friend of mine is, yeah, he was, I think he's still doing it. He also works in the mining industry, and he was actually the consultant on the first driverless mining, like the great big, what do they call? I can't remember the brand. Kubota. I can't. I think
That's it.
Kubota.
Yeah, something like that.
The great big trucks. The trucks that are sizes of houses, and they do the mining hauling. The first driverless ones that they were just prototyping in 2014, 2015. The driverless dump trucks saved, get this, they saved $250,000 a year in maintenance. Why? Because the robot optimized the performance of the machine instead of just pedal to the metal the whole time.
Mhm.
So the wear and tear on the on the on the dump trucks reduced their budget by $750,000 a year in maintenance.
How many units?
They started out with serial number 0, and they had 5 in the first run, and then they added another 10. I think it was in 2016 or 2017.
Is this Suncor base plant?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, they were ordered out of Korea. The brain, rather, the brain that did the driving was built in Korea. Yeah, it's something else. It's like, it's actually kind of scary to see how much people are now becoming reliant on it. Think about it though. We became reliant on these, right? We became reliant on the internet. That the reliance on AI is coming, and it's too bad. You know, I see it as that disconnect from nature. I see it as a disconnect from each other, that we're going to see more and more employers not want to employ people. Why? Because I'm not actually employing the person. I'm employing someone who is in a relationship with an AI. I might as well just hire the AI.
And
You know, there's a
the way young people are these days too, they're so difficult to work with.
yeah, yeah.
And why do you say that, Audrey Lynn?
Oh, well, because they, at least in the city, in Edmonton, let's put it that way, they feel entitled. They feel like this is the essence I get off of them, that I am, even though I'm across the counter handing them money, paying for their job, it's like an inconvenience. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And if you ask for, like I ask for receipts, oh, it's not necessarily the actual eye roll, but it's the virtual sense of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you can't ask for that in at the speaker box, because most of them, they don't work, or their sound quality is crap. Yeah, no, within Edmonton, working with the younger people, and I'm saying like 30s and under, it's not pleasant. And when you do find, like out here, I would say about 6 weeks-ish or so, we were at Copper Creek, the coffee shop, and I witnessed a young woman, probably in her late teens, early 20s, serving a customer, a senior, and she went over and above what I would have expected. And so when we left, I went over and complimented her. Thank you. I'm going to compliment the behavior that I want to see more of.
Yeah.
And I mean, the people here in Rocky Mountain House, they all seem to be really nice. But then when you go into Red Deer or Edmonton, not so much.
Yeah, this, whatever you want to call it, the frequency, the vibration in the city environment, just, it stinks.
Yeah, it's really hard. When we were up there last weekend, Sunday could not come fast enough for us to leave.
Well, I hope I'm less than 2 handfuls of months off living in here. I got probably a 3 or 4 story, 8-plex plus, going on 2 lots. What? I'm on 59, 7 blocks from me here. The one house burnt, the other house was run down, and yeah, they've got a fence. They were fenced separately before. Now they're fenced as in one, and they're. But anyway, the one neighbor, I talked to him, and he says they were talking an 8-plex on the single lot and 3-story high. Like, you got a 3rd story, they're looking down in your backyard, and you get no sun if you're on the north side of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it'll help ease the housing crisis in Edmonton for all the newcomers and their friends.
I feel sorry for them. They'll have a huge awakening in another few years, whether it's 2, 3, maybe for some, 5 or 10 for others.
I think it depends on how long they've been in country, because I've come across some of them as clients, and yeah, no, this is not what they anticipated. They didn't realize that winter was so harsh, and that the cost of living is so high in comparison to where they've come from. I mean, politically, it might be better, but economically, I think it probably balances out the political question within their country of origin.
Yeah, it's an invasion. And, you know, we're seeing tons of signs like, oh, wow, oh, there's the soccer stuff that's going on right now. You know, more of the circus. But the what's interesting is that there was a gentleman who was taking a video in Toronto where he's from Ecuador, and he was so looking forward to it. In Ecuador, he worked extremely hard to be able to afford to go and watch soccer in Toronto. And he went there thinking that this is going to be amazing. I get to go to a first world country. And he was afraid in the streets of Toronto. He said, I can't believe that this is worse than my country. It's third world level. And it's hilarious to me. It's hilarious. I don't think that it is hilarious deep down inside, but because of how bitter I am towards humanity and all of the inhumanity it endorses and votes for, I have to laugh, because what we're seeing is not a crisis.
Mm.
What we're seeing is the inevitable result of doing nothing about the crisis, when the heralds, the people who saw it coming, said this was coming. And instead of listening to us, we were shoved. Look at what happened to us in 2020. We were shoved to the outer fringes of society, ostracized, demonized for saying what was going on, for telling the truth about what was happening. What we're experiencing is the inevitable result of being ignored and, worse, demonized. Like, what we're seeing now is it's like, as terrible as it is, society deserves it.
Well,
Because
society won't learn unless they have the pain.
that's right. The nail, Audrey. The nail.
The nail. It's the dog sitting on the porch,
Yep.
laying on a nail. Well, why doesn't he get up? Well, it doesn't hurt him enough yet.
Oh, yeah. All right. Tons of stuff has been happening. Folks, I apologize for market analysis not staying up on top of all of the news. It has been the last 2 or 3 months in particular. I have been really just focusing on the foundation for what we're doing in Next Gen Merchants Next. And so I haven't been staying up on top of things lately. I'm going to be retrieving the updates that I normally start with. Like when I'm going down rabbit holes on what's going on in the markets, I usually go to about 3 or 4 different sources. And so today we're going to be reviewing what Virtual Bacon, he's on X. He's a very young investor. I think he's in his early 30s, and very successful, and has a good understanding of the markets, and a lot of how I think about how the markets are going is a result of people like him, and just Dario as well. So we're gonna go over this. This is a fairly long post, but there are some notable things that have occurred. Number one, last week, maybe it was the week before already, the Federal Reserve got a new director. Powell went out. Trump didn't like him because he wasn't. He was saying that the interest rates are going to have to go up because we can't afford to live, meaning the elites. So, and Trump was like, I don't like you. So he got rid of him and brought in, I shouldn't say he did, but his bosses got rid of Powell, and they replaced him. I can't even remember the guy's first name. Warsh is his last name. And sure enough, the Fed rates were due to be announced, and they held for the 4th straight meeting. But the markets themselves, when we look at how the bond market works, it turned hawkish in War's debut. The 2026 dot plot median jumped to 3.8% from 3.4, which is a pretty big jump. And when it comes to these rates, 0.25% is big. So this is almost 0.5%. 9 of 18 officials now see a hike, and the S&P, Standard & Poor, fell 1.2%. Intel jumped about 9% to a record near $130 after Trump said Apple agreed to design and build chips with Intel in the US, the biggest validation yet of the government's stake in the chip maker. So America, Israel, is investing in Apple. They want Apple to build their products from now, to build the product. They want to be a major player in the development of that hardware. So iPhone 17 is the first phone that is being manufactured and designed in Israel. So the same company. Company. They call it a country, but it isn't. It's a company, and that company has that's the same company that made those pagers that blew up. Yeah, they're now making the iPhone 17. The US and Iran signed a deal to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. You know, the Strait of Hormuz that was open the whole time? Yeah, that one. Now there's a deal. But of course, I don't know if he's going to say it in here. Yeah, so US and Iran made a deal. And if you go and look at the official announcements from Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the prime minister of Israel, he says that they have no intention of honoring any of the deals, that they are going to continue to wage their war. And if the West won't go with them, if the West won't back them on it, they're going to take everybody out. And that's official. That is official. That's not me paraphrasing him. Okay? That is the official announcement from Benjamin Netanyahu. The oil fell to $78. We're going to look at charts later. Brent fell to $78, and Japan's Nikkei and Korea's the Kospi, that's their US 30 basically. It hit record highs as crypto shrugged it off. So it was expected that crypto was going to go down as a result, but it just basically stayed. Whatever. It didn't. Nothing much happened with it.
The thing with Israel, don't they have is it Samson or Goliath protocol that if they go out, that they send nukes off to every major city in the planet?
Yeah, in fact, Israel, the reason why that location was picked, stolen. The reason why was because from that geographical position, the cruise missiles that the United States were already developing at the time, those cruise missiles were that location makes it possible for Israel with those cruise missiles to target 80% of the world. They can't really do it from other locations. It's just a unique place where they are there next to Gaza.
So then that means 80% of the planet can also impact them.
That's right. That's right. It is definitely a two-way street, but that's why they picked it, was because they partnered up with the US, who had the longest range missiles at the time, back in the 40s. Sandbox AQ won a $500 million CHIPS award to use AI to find new chip-making materials from PFAS free chemicals. I don't even know what PFAS is. It's probably some sort of a carcinogen, to rare earth free magnets, with the government taking a minority stake in the NVIDIA-backed startup. So NVIDIA goes ahead, starts up a company. We got to figure out another way to manufacture another material to manufacture all these chips that we're going to need. And they're going to magnets that are rare earth free. So hopefully they're coming up with something other than gold and silver. But I don't think that that's really, innovative. I think it's just, recognizing that they better do something, because this form of computer chip has already been prototyped for about 4 or 5 years. Google launched a $999.99 Gemini native Home speaker. Okay, wait a second. Home speaker. Yeah, we're talking like Alexa, right? Or Siri. Now it's $100. You can get yourself a Gemini native. What is Gemini? AI. That's different from Alexa. Alexa was already kind of, playing around with AI, but it was still very much a logic-based system. Well, Gemini is an AI-based system. And now you can go get yourself a home speaker. Imagine that. The first audio device built for Gemini and its first standalone smart speaker since the 2020 Nest. Oh, and of course, if you want the premium features, $10 a month. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Why? Because Gemini is going to take care of stuff for you. World model startup Odyssey raised $310 million at a $1.45 billion valuation from Amazon. AMD Ventures. AMD is a chip manufacturer. They are not associated with NVIDIA, although you can use NVIDIA chips with them. AMD is the infrastructure on AMD computing is more used for servers. Intel computers are not as good for servers. Intel computers are great for the end user that just wants to check their mail and browse the internet and listen to music and whatever else. But AMD chips, they are more geared towards servers. And GV, I don't know who that is, betting that systems simulating physical environments are the next leap beyond large language models. We're not going to imagine that, eh? Systems that simulate physical environments. We're not going to actually create a physical environment with this computer. We're just going to simulate a physical environment. What does that mean? Can anybody guess what that means?
It sounds like the holodeck.
Yep. Think of it this way. In like AMD, they make chips and they are geared towards servers. Well, server is a physical environment. If you have a server, like for instance, Audrey, you've got high level, and when you get a domain together and you've got that all connected, the data gets stored somewhere. If it's not directly with and the fees that you pay, annual fees that you pay for things like space, that's because you got server space. Well, systems that simulate physical environments are going to be the next leap. That means that you're going to still have the chip, but instead of you becoming the server, you're going to be relying on a larger infrastructure, probably hosted in a data center, so that your virtual environment can port with it. You will own nothing. The next leap beyond large language models. Nobody wants to have their own server in their house. That's ridiculous. You want these AIs to do everything for you? You want a Gemini native home speaker to handle all of your home automation? You're going to have to get a server. No, you're not going to have to do that, because the next bullet point literally tells you your servers can be virtual now. They don't have to be real. They can be simulated.
Just like owning your data, it can be simulated.
Most
and,
people.
I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to turn that simulation off for you.
Yeah.
Make you comply.
Isn't it something how these two bullet points, most people would not see the correlation between these two bullet points. But we do at Next Gen Merchants because we're that good. Crypto updates. CME, world's largest derivatives exchange, said it will sue the CFTC over crypto perpetual futures, arguing that perps, these are perpetual funds, are actually swaps under the Dodd-Frank Act that must clear regulated exchanges. Swaps are the trick that exchanges have been using. Oh my gosh, it's probably been 80 years at least, maybe even 100. I don't think that. Yeah, you know what? They might have been doing it already in the 20s before the big crash, before the Great Depression. But this is an illegal operation. And it is not as it is unlawful on every continent. And the US banking system is the number one perpetrator.
Of swaps?
Yep. It's illegal. You're not allowed to do it. Because what you're doing, swaps, okay, swaps in crypto, that's not a bad thing. Any one individual can go ahead and do that.
Right.
But when they're saying these perps, these are supposed to be perpetuals. So they're smart contracts like on silver, gold. You know how they have the contracts on that? Well, they're doing the same thing with perpetual futures on cryptos. So it's, it's perpetuating that alone. But that in itself is not illegal. It is just not good business practice when you want to determine whether or not something's actually worth what it is. It's like we don't see the true value of gold and silver. Why? Because they're doing perpetual futures. But those perpetual futures in cryptos, CME, the exchange, is saying that they're not perpetual futures, they're actually swaps, which is the activity of inflating volume by simulating trades. You just swap, you got a coin, swap it back and forth, make it look like there's more trading volume.
So what I'm thinking of is that movie, The Big Short. And weren't they talking about swaps?
Yeah.
Is that similar to what you're talking about now?
It's a strategy. But you're not allowed to do that with futures.
That makes sense.
Individuals can swap because you're not trading a future.
Right.
You're trading an asset.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what the future holds, and I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. So it's funny too, because the world's largest derivative exchange is saying, they're basically blowing the whistle. They're saying, hey, that's not allowed. We're going to sue you. Moody's began publishing credit ratings on Solana. The blockchain rather. They're putting credit ratings on it, meaning issuers of tokenized fixed income push machine readable ratings on chain. So DeFi, here we come, which means now lending can be done on chain. Illinois enacted a 0.2% privilege tax on all digital asset business activity with no exemptions effective January 2027. I don't know who this is, but A16Z's Crypto Council called it the most punitive crypto tax in the country. It only applies if you're using the exchanges as banks. Anybody in Illinois that wants to actually lawfully not comply with this 0.2% privilege tax from their criminal state, they're happy to get in touch with, they would love to get in touch with us and learn how they can structure their business so that they are lawfully non-compliant with illegal and unlawful edicts from criminals. BitTensor. We talk about BitTensor all the time. They're reviewing Root Reborn, a proposal that would turn their coin, Tau, validators, so these are going to be people that are running like mining machines, into fund managers. And they can pick which AI subnets to back and invest yield, instead of selling subnet tokens to pay stakers. Miners becoming fund managers. That's kind of funny, actually. Fund managers, those are the folks that were the biggest perpetrators of the Big Short, or the criminality that happened in the Big Short. So BitTensor showing their true colors even more. Aster, Perpetual's DEX, this is a decentralized exchange, will route 99% of daily fees into Aster buybacks and burn a matching amount to cut supply from 7.82 billion toward 3 billion. Aster popped over 10%, then faded as the hawkish Fed pressured risk assets. So because of their basically what's happening, Aster, that does perpetuals through a decentralized exchange, it's just they are using decentralized services, blockchain, to issue perpetual contracts on various coins. They get transaction fees. 99% of them are going into buying their own chain's coin. And they're going to burn whatever they buy so that they don't end up with artificial pricing. Because of that perceived value. Oh, look. It's basically Aster's like the government guaranteeing the bonds. Oh, look, that's awesome. So then the Aster coin went up 10%, but then faded right away because the Fed with this new guy, the Federal Reserve is still putting pressure against assets that are of higher risk. So people just made a quick 10% and then sold it because they didn't want to be caught with holding the bag. Why? Because they're not next gen merchants who know what the fuck they're doing. Fidelity and State Street both launched stablecoin reserve funds, racing to manage the treasuries and cash backing issues under the new Genius Act as Wall Street builds out stablecoin plumbing. Been talking about stablecoins a lot lately. These two institutions, big Wall Street, like we're talking like I would say sub JP Morgan, Chase banks, those guys, but still major institutions, financial institutions, creating stablecoin reserve funds. So they're saying stablecoins are the way of the future, and we better make sure that we're ready to be able to supply our clients with stablecoins. War bonds is a fancy word of saying stablecoin. So yeah, those are the updates there. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just before that paragraph on Bitster, I forget what the institution was, but and putting in that 0.2% tax, and you said that is to get the ones that are using crypto as a banking use, like where you or my volition is using the brokerage and going to the crypto or whatever is a place to put my equity and whatnot. But in our situation with next gen merchants, That don't apply to us because we got
Yeah.
our own kingdom.
That's
Correct?
right, because you got your own keys to your property. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
I just had to reiterate that.
Yeah, well done. Very well reflected. All right, let's look at some charts here. We're at the 35-minute mark. Maureen, I see you there in the backyard or in the background. Backyard. Well, maybe you might be in the backyard too. Oh no, you're in your house. How are you today? Good. Good, good. All right. Amazon came back from the all-time high here, looking like it's got some support. Google also having pulled back a little bit, already forming a higher high. Let's go to the 4-hour chart so we can see already forming a higher high right here. Nvidia, after its pullback, oh, we can get rid of this trend line now. Currently, we are seeing downward trend in Nvidia. Whether that lasts or not, man, I don't know. It's too early to tell. Oracle, though, Oracle going below previous lows. Palantir sitting right on top of that wedge. Tesla looking like it's going to be tempting this long-term trend line. And I got to remember to put SpaceX on here. It's a very, very small chart because the meme coin, sorry, the stock is still really, really new. Let's go to the 5-minute chart so we can see it play out. It's come back to just after the opening highs from last Friday.
It
Look
looks
at
like
those.
the ATR on that is a bit volatile too.
Yep. Oh, that's going to be definitely for the next little while. Let's go back again. Space. Yeah, that's going to be that way probably for the first few weeks. SpaceX. Let's go back to that 5-minute.
However, it is following an interesting pattern.
Yeah.
The ATR itself.
Yep. Waves even starting out like really high and then
Yep.
yeah, and then the waves are getting smaller and smaller.
Yep.
Yep. Really good point. That's on the 5-minute chart. So, people who are trading a 5-minute chart, they're going to be definitely watching that ATR. Once we see, I would say, we're probably going to need a month of data on the 4-hour chart before we can start noticing patterns. But the glaring obvious pattern is the meme coin action that this is how meme coins get started in the same type of action. Japanese markets, yeehaw. They really like the fact that oil prices dropped. Going from the previous highs that we saw just above 70,000, now already at 72,000. And yet, at the same time, even though the Asian markets are looking better, look at how the yen is still inflating. Oil prices, we can see that the shorting has commenced. And the people who are shorting, they believe that everything is good now. and nothing bad is gonna happen anymore. We got out of that storm that we were in, because it was looking pretty bad there for a while. It looked like we were gonna go to war and have a $200 barrel of oil, but thank God for the savior of the world, Trump. And so now people are actually shorting oil, that the majority of traders are thinking that the price is going to go back down. What do we know about the markets and what the majority of people think? Usually goes the opposite direction. Oh, yeah. US 30 also bumped up on Wednesday. Yesterday morning, bumped up again, went to all-time high. $52,298. Silver and gold both consolidating over the last week. We do remember, we talked about this earlier this week, that this long-term trend line on gold, I believe that we will be coming back to retest that line. Gold-silver ratio actually showing continued, we call it weakness, but it looks like it's going up. But that's because the ratio is going higher. Bitcoin against gold, we'll look at that more so once we see gold have a little bit more volatility. Bitcoin dominance, though, found some resistance at the 59.4% level, already starting to head down back towards this marker here. This zone that we're in right now, this is a major zone. A lot is going to be decided within this zone. I don't think if we go back down below again, we'd have to get back below this long-term trend line. But if we get down below that, that will likely signal an alt season. Let's go out to the weekly chart here and see where market structure is. Yeah. Look at what happened last time it did that. So this was August of 2020 right here. And then it went up. It experienced a big, whoa. Come on, mouse. There we go. Experienced a rise in dominance, and then alt season hit, and it went down 45%. Market dominance went down 40%, not the price action. The market dominance went down 45%. The last time it broke down below that. So when we break below that, and we actually cleanly break below that, I do expect it to fall quickly like it did last time, and we'll be into alt season. Just because that's the pattern. History doesn't always repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
One thing about the pattern, or just being with you when you see these things going up and down, and even if you have money there seems to be, I'm noticing, a sense of the bigger picture inside, so you don't react, and it's in your gut, you know what I mean? Saying bigger picture.
Yes.
And it's like you don't get all nervous or as nervous or fearful. And maybe that's you too. I don't know, your influence, but I just noticed that. It's like, oh, there's the up and down again, and then I noticed, oh, I'm not reacting, so amazing.
Yep. I hear you. And that does happen at a certain point in the markets. You no longer have any emotion to it. You're just observing something play out, and oh, isn't that interesting? This could mean this, and it could mean that. We'll see how it plays out.
That would be an interesting tool to use as a meditation. That as I find myself becoming attached to markets going up, markets going down, to yeah, use it as a tool. Oh, I'm anxious. Oh, I just sit back, be the observer,
Yes.
observe, let go of the outcome because you can't control it.
Then that can generalize to life, period. Once you have that sense and it's a kind of a pattern in your own body, then that can really be helpful.
I'm
I
of
think-
the mind, I've been saying this for a few years.
Yeah.
I believe that when it comes to manifestation and the management of emotions, the ability to stay present, it is the most difficult to practice with money. But if you get it, it automatically translates to everything else. Just because it's the most visceral
Mhm.
connection, the attachment that we have to our society. I mean, the socioeconomic programming that has occurred throughout thousands of years does have us in a state where we can experience a direct result
Yeah.
with money simply because it's that first physical representation. I'm not talking from the finish line. There's still things that I get upset about. Like I look at the corruption and I just get bitter about it, right? So that's no better than getting upset about losing money or being euphoric about winning. It's it's its own form of shadow that I have. Bitcoin prices below that long-term trend line, but this is the kind of thing I don't know if I've talked about this. I think I have. It's called the Wyckoff theory. The Wyckoff theory talks about it in more so in the terms of a consolidation where the markets are just going flat. And that when they're going flat, we see the pattern and how it entered that zone, and then that there's an accumulation period. And that what we see here, this jumping out of this trend line, would be considered an accumulation. Every time the price goes down, we see on chain more money being spent buying it. Why doesn't the price go up? Let's go back to the swaps the conversation. Then did I think I did. Let me see here. It's something that if I would have known I was going to talk about this, I would have had it prepared. But it's like the FBI did that sting operation where they arrested 17 people who were involved in of simulating volume with their exchanges. Oh, hey, we got this brand new coin. It's going to be awesome. And people jumped on it and said, yeah, we'll promote it on our exchanges. And then the FBI turned around. It's called entrapment. FBI turned around and arrested these 17 people that did it. They had to go after the little guy because all of the exchanges. Coinbase is the worst, by the way. Coinbase is the worst for simulating volume. So price is low, but on chain we're seeing people buying. Why isn't the price going up? Market manipulation. It will go up when the institutions are what's the term? When they're happy, ready to do it. Whenever they feel like it. That's when the shift will occur. Ethereum, very much tempting that long-term trend line. Total market capitalization of all the altcoins. This right here, this chart is the proof that backs the Bitcoin dominance chart. Bitcoin dominance has been declining, meaning that out of all of the money that's leaving crypto, the majority of that money is leaving Bitcoin. ADA, sitting right now at 16 cents US. Very, very low. You know, it's interesting. The whole Cardano ecosystem, since this drop, it's funny to watch. People are goofy. This drop here translated into incredibly toxic posts on social media, especially X, targeting Charles Hoskinson, saying it's his fault. They call him a fat fuck now. That's the fat fuck's fault. That's what they say. And the entire Cardano ecosystem has been telling people for about 10 years, nobody's in charge of it. Nobody's in charge. There are people who are leading things, but they are not in charge. The Cardano ecosystem is the world's largest decentralized autonomous organization. Maureen, the governance structure that you are bringing to Dragon Riders, it's the same Is there anybody in Dragon Riders that's in charge? No. We don't observe these hierarchies. We don't see them as legitimate. The Cardano ecosystem has been saying the same thing. Yes, there are people who have great abilities, capacities, intelligence, and they have poured their heart and soul into a project that they feel passionate about, but they are not in charge of it. As a result of the abusive speech, free speech is all fine and dandy, but the abusive speech that has been shot at Charles specifically has resulted in the Cardano network saying, see you guys later. We're leaving social media. And there is an exodus of people from Cardano that are just closing their accounts, leaving social media. And where are they going? Discord. Discord is an application that is used by the video gaming industry for people to communicate. It's not really a social media, but if you wanted to make a comparison, Maureen, it's basically set up like Nextcloud. In fact, Nextcloud used a lot of the same types of workflows that Discord used to build their social media app. And it's a very, very robust communication system where people from various ecosystems can converse back and forth. And interestingly enough, you can use it to bring governance on chain. In fact, Discord allows you to configure your server so that when you vote on something in Discord, it translates into a recordable action on chain. So the entire ecosystem for Cardano is basically vacating the mainstream space. Why? Because the price went down and the mainstream ridiculed someone who has no responsibility over the ecosystem. It is a sociocracy. People bring governance on their own to this. And the price is not a reflection on its value. It's just going up and down. You know, gold goes up and down. Dollar goes up and down. Everything goes up and down. Fascinating to watch that unfold. Midnight.
It makes me curious as to, with ADA, as to, it feels like the good things get attacked. It's another form of distraction.
Yes.
So they're doing really good work.
And you know what's so funny about it is that as much as the mainstream vilifies and ridicules the Cardano ecosystem. Charles Hoskinson, along with Input and Output, the company from, IOHK is Input Output Hong Kong. That company, they're a private corporation, and they were the ones to launch the DAO known as Cardano. Well, Cardano, once it got to the point, like it was the end of 2024. Is that right? I think no, I'm mistaken on that. I think it was the beginning of 2024 is when Cardano was the first blockchain to have governance actions recorded on chain. All the other chains that were doing DAOs and all that, they were making votes, but they were not recorded on a decentralized network. They were just being recorded on a server like everybody else had to do for tens of decades of the internet. Cardano was the first one to do it. Once that happened, IOHK and Charles Hoskinson said, okay, thank you so much, everybody, for allowing us to help you get this far. You take it from here, because we're going to move on to Midnight now. And the reason why we're going to move on to Midnight is so that, because right now Cardano is its own little ecosystem. It's a layer 1 chain, and it doesn't talk very well with all the other chains because they don't share the same value. Remember, we talked about this in Next Gen Merchants, how Cardano uses a programming language that's mathematical, whereas all of the other chains are using a representative language to do their programming. So the two are they're very, very much diametrically opposed. They don't coincide together. Why? Because Cardano is looking at things mathematically, and all the other ones are looking at things representatively. They don't talk very well together. You got to use bridges and dexes to trade back and forth. So IOHK, Input Output Hong Kong, the company that started Cardano, they passed Cardano off. They said, you find someone else to develop Cardano now. We're not going to continue developing it. We're going to move on to the next phase of our vision for the world in having an a financial operating system that can run the world without anybody in charge. Imagine that. And so to move in that direction, we're going to do the one thing that nobody else is working towards. Why? Because they don't even have a foundation upon which to do it. Cardano was that foundation. We're going to go on to Midnight because we want to see these smart contracts that are mathematically based. With this layer 2 coin, we can now have the programming language within Midnight accept transactions and send transactions with all the other coins. So all of the other coins literally shake their fingers at Cardano for being the worst coin ever, and yet none of them are working together. And Cardano is the foundation for which Midnight, which is going to be which already is, it is in full production, where now all of these chains can talk to each other. You don't have to stake Midnight to make Midnight. You can stake Solana and make Midnight with it. Interoperability. That has always been my focus when determining whether or not I like a blockchain. The reason why I'm in all these different things when we're talking about, XRP, and we talk about Fetch and Polygon, Desync, is because we want to know what's going on within the industry. But that for me, it was always about the interoperability. How do we make it so that people there are no more borders around all of these infrastructures? How do we make it so that there's more communication, there's more collaboration between each other? And of course, Cardano is going to be demonized for doing that. Why? Because it makes things more free. It makes things more autonomous. It makes things where people can exercise more sovereignty over their equity. And that just won't do.
Well, like there's boundaries where there should be boundaries,
Yeah.
and then freedom where freedom is inclusive of some things, I mean, of the other systems, but yet not privacy is the main thing. I don't know how to say that in your language, but I kind of see the opposite forces acting in integrity, in midnight,
Yeah.
what I would call integrity.
Yeah. And the people who helped bring midnight to fruition, what's interesting is that they are already talking of, okay, so they're developing midnight, they're still working on it, they're still furthering the technology, the DAO is growing, but the people who are involved in that development have already said, we know that this is going to be like a Cardano one day, where it'll be widely used and interoperable with all the other chains, but we still have more work to do. This midnight, in the same way Cardano provided the foundation for midnight, midnight is going to be providing the foundation for proof of life. Why?
Is
Well,
that
because
Portal isn't Portal moving to, I was Kim posted something and talked about Portal and proof of life, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if is that on the board or
Absolutely. They are doing it as well. The drawback, and this is why I don't jump in both feet with Cordal yet, is because they're not interoperable. They are accomplishing the same thing, but they are a very closed system. You can't take Cordal and send it to someone and it turn into ADA. Midnight is making that a possibility, but even Cordal, it's not interoperable with Midnight yet, and I don't know if they intend to be. I hope that they do. I'm of the mind that what Cordal is doing is what they are doing is that they are hardening their infrastructure as their users come on board. The more users they have, the more scalability they will be able to withstand. And I think that it's if they are planning on being interoperable, they are going about it the right way by hardening their infrastructure before they start doing smart contracts with other chains. But that what they're go ahead.
no? I was just going to say, I think you were on to like Charles moving on to something else, the proof of life, and would that be another coin, or would he try to incorporate that into Midnight?
I think it would be similarly how Cardano
Yeah.
is that layer 1.
Uh-huh.
Midnight is the layer 2. I think we're going to see another layer 2 that works in tandem to provide us with a tokenization for proof of life.
Just refresh me on layer 1 and layer 2. I know kind of know like Bitcoin is a layer 1, Ethereum is a layer 1, but tell me again the little short definition of it.
Yeah, sure. Layer 1 signifies a unique programming language that allows for that immutability to be written on chain. And they just use different protocols to make it work. Ethereum wanted to see us move toward the ability to stake. So what that means is instead of sending money to someone else, they could stake within a project that they like, and that stake, that holding of the coin within a container, you still maintain full autonomy over the asset, but you're simply saying, I want my asset to be used in the generation and furthering of transactions within the ecosystem and benefit from the fees, the transaction fees themselves, as a token of my appreciation for that particular project. Ethereum used the same principles that were used in the building of Bitcoin, but evolved it so that it had more expandable, where you can't take Bitcoin. Well, I shouldn't say that. Midnight makes it possible where you can stake Bitcoin. You couldn't do that before. Because Bitcoin's protocol doesn't have the provision for something like that. But with Midnight, now you can stake Bitcoin. That's why, by the way, if you look at your Lace wallet, you can open up a Bitcoin wallet. The reason why was because Midnight was coming. And Midnight was going to make it possible where you could stake Bitcoin. So they wanted to make sure that the Bitcoin could go into your Lace wallet so that you could stake.
I'm kind of getting the connection there. That's okay. Layer by layer, of
Yes.
understanding and being able to maneuver between the concepts easily. So little by little,
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
The layers are, if you have a layer 2 coin, it will be under some layer 1 and it will follow the same protocols. So within Ethereum, there are thousands upon thousands of layer 2 coins because they've all got their own little thing that they're working on. Like Desync, we talk about Desync lots, right? Well, Desync is a layer 2 to Ethereum. Solana is a layer 2. Fetch is a layer 2. All of them are 2. Even BitTensor is a layer 2 to Ethereum. Midnight is a layer 2 as well, but it's with Cardano. It uses a different programming language to verify transactions.
So
It
that
uses-
means that Cardano is a layer 1.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that was just a little piece that I got there. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And now I see a little bit, it's something else was revealed in that. Thank you. Thank you for going there.
Most welcome. Okay. Well, that's all we can go through more charts. If there's a chart you want me to check out, or if you got a question, we can do more of that. But we're already at an hour and 7 minutes, and we got co-work today. Oh, Maureen, you're muted. You're talking there, but you're muted.
Yeah. I'm mute. I'm talking. Yeah, I'm going to go do my exercise. I can feel the drain in me right now, just sitting here too long.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, most welcome.
I just have a little update, if it's okay, on the Potato Club. I downloaded a little video clip of the potato flowers. You know how potato plants flower?
Yeah,
And they're really huge now. So I just wanted to share that. And sometime soon we'll have a little meeting maybe, and I can learn how to share these on Nextcloud as long as we'll get all that going, in its time where it doesn't push any of us too much. Anyway, thank you.
Where does all the information go or come from or whatever in the Potato Club? Is there like emails or what?
Well, we haven't really started. Having emails or like a chat, that would be, that's a good idea, Audrey. We could chat in there, but we're getting it all set up with another group, how we're going to do all this with each one. So as soon as that's kind of established, then we'll follow that protocol or whatever.
I want to show my pea pod that I got.
Yeah.
Pea pod on my pea stalk.
That's great. And I want to grow peas too, just because it's protein to have peas. Anyway, I'm going to go. I need to go.
Okay.
I can talk now forever. All right. Bye-bye, you guys.
Have a good day, everybody. We'll see you later.